The questions are coming up here, so you get a bit of advance warning on what's coming up. And there's an anonymous one. So the first one is, how can we help? Where are you, Tom? How can we help financial institutions and investors better understand maritime and increase their appetite to invest? I think probably that was a question for Tony, which I can't really answer myself, but I can tell you that in the tidal world, again, an innovation and new and not very well known, since the government showed some policy support, and that's the point, when the government start to come in and say, this is our policy, this is where we're going to go, then all of a sudden you do get the capability to say to investors, this isn't a short-term investment, this is a long-term gain, and at that point, suddenly you get more investment. But I'm not going to try and pretend to be a financial expert. We are looking at quite a lot of investment coming in at the moment. The second one for Tom is, when forming collaboration partners, which type of organization is most difficult to find as a willing participant?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was sat thinking about it, because it hasn't really been difficult. And I think that's because we haven't had a lot of opportunities to find these collaborations, particularly where there's government innovation support or likewise for it. I think there's been this built-up demand that's been around for a long time. So most organizations are really willing and actually really excited to get involved as well. I suppose the only thing that takes a little bit of extra care is when we've got commercial organizations that are developing specific solutions that they want to put into the market. Obviously, we need to make sure that we're only sharing things that we can share. But in terms of willing participants, I haven't yet met an unwilling participant, but we'll give it time.
I think you've all been here for the last 2 days. I've got a question for you all, one at a time, if you like. And having seen everything going on and conscious that you all will have your own bias, starting with you, Tom, I think, what would you see as the most important enabling factor to get this effectively new series of subsectors within maritime on the road and going?
For me, I think that the regional piece is a big part of it, because obviously when you look at the UK, a lot of our major cities and communities are there because of their waterways connectivity or their historic connectivity that enabled trade with the rest of the world. And I think that's something that, as a whole country, we haven't remembered as well over the previous years. So actually, in terms of how we coordinate effort and get regional initiatives going, and identifying what we're uniquely good at. That doesn't mean we don't do the other things, but you need something to fly the banner. You need something to be the mission of what you coordinate people around. And I think understanding that better across regional ecosystems is going to be really important for me. And I think, particularly speaking from a catapult perspective, it's a unique, really good position to be in as being completely impartial to all these things. I mean, we just want to see the sector grow and have a positive impact on regions. And I think as the innovation supporting organisations, I think that's something we can and should be helping regions with to help unlock all this activity.
So you see yourself as the focus for the collaboration, really? Totally.
Yeah.
Marlene?
So I think as one of the overriding messages that has come from the 2 days is collaboration and sharing. And I think I can't remember the word you used earlier, the collaboration and the competing
oh, yes.
merging. As a port, we compete and we don't compete. We complement other ports. And I think there needs to be more openness and sharing. I think Port of Tyne are really leading the way there. And being able to take best practice and share across the other ports so that we make all ports in the UK as strong as they can be and make us inviting to do business with. I think that's a benefit. There's 50 some of us as trust ports around the country, and our ethos is to support the community in which we exist. And so if we can encourage that collectiveness and that coming together and increase UK PLC, as it were, then that's got to be good for the whole rather than the sum of the parts.
I think that's right, and I think that's a message that I've been picking up over the years is actually as new innovations come on and new markets develop, we shouldn't just focus on competition within the UK, a kind of Mrs. Thatcher principle. We've actually, until you've got a market, there's no real competition. Well, we have got a market because our market is around the world, so we should be unifying all the lessons that we get around the UK ports in order to perhaps take that technology elsewhere or that capability elsewhere. John, you're a catering field, well, you've got an excellent background and you're now in DIT, so tell us what your thoughts are.
So I think some diversification, sort of building on what the others have been saying would be useful. I mean, we've got a deep supply chain that's really good in many other sectors, some of which I've worked in. And, if you want to build out these other sectors, it's about bringing them in and beginning to use their abilities and beginning to bring them into the maritime sphere so we can build upon that and use that to drive some of the innovation going forward, looking at it collectively.
Thank you. And I'm now going to turn to questions from the floor. Financial issue we covered, collaborative partnership. Biggest barrier, this one's come to you, biggest barrier for export at the moment?
So there's a number of barriers. I mean, some of them are domestic, I suppose, like access to finance, for instance, but things that we could probably do most about in DIT is just about the lack of awareness sometimes amongst buyers. I mean, there's a lot of people we talk to and we say, are you aware we've got these capabilities? And they haven't even heard of some of the bits and pieces that we are doing. So hopefully that's one barrier we can, one of the low-hanging fruits that through our new expansion we begin to knock down and begin to raise that awareness and appetite amongst buyers. I mean, there's plenty of ones in the domestic sphere that are more naughty for us to tackle, but certainly in the international sphere, I think, really raising that awareness and talking to these companies will really help.
Yeah, and the other question I have from you is there's an interesting development, I think, offshore. There's a hydrogen link going to be put down the North Sea and link up to Europe and all associated with that. And some of the work we've been doing with EMEC has shown that in some cases, transferring energy is cheaper by hydrogen than it is by cables. Have you come across anything like that at the moment, or are you looking at new ways of transferring energy?
Not me personally, no. No.
Any comments from the panel on that?
I mean, I think the hydrogen question and the hydrogen capability is very exciting. There are quite a number of challenges associated with it. Every time we try to extract the hydrogen, we lose a percentage of it. So there's ways and means, I think, in the future where that will be more efficient. But it's an exciting time, for sure.
And John, where do you see the most lucrative markets for this industry?
For hydrogen?
No, for marine and maritime altogether, genuinely.
I suppose at the moment, the market we're looking at most interested is in the APAC region. We think there's quite a lot of untapped potential there that we're looking at. A number of the countries down there we're looking into. We've got some work underway in the Indonesia instance that we haven't really beginning to tap into. The Philippines, looking at EZZ type areas as well. Looking into there. So that is one sort of geographic market that we're quite focused on at the moment.
I'm just, sorry, I wandered over there just so I can see through the lights. Are there any other questions from the floor before we conclude? No, well, I missed that, yeah.
John, update us on the Maritime campaign office. Is it fully resourced? Is it going to focus solely on vessels, or is it going to embrace the supply chain and other services that we can export?
So I can't really comment on that yet. I mean, there should be something coming out pretty soon. I think I've outlined a number of the activities that we're hoping to take forward as we go there, and it should be fairly, once the national shipbuilding strategy is launched, we should be in a position to talk about that more firmly. But everything's beginning to come together quite well, and we're hoping to broaden the scope.
Any other questions? Yeah, at the front, Mike.
I've got one. It was on slide.
Yeah, and it's quite hard to read Slido from where I am at the moment.
It was really about the connection with lessons or initiatives we might have learned or be able to transfer to the international community. So understanding what exporting those ideas overseas. Any comments on that?
Yeah. So it's definitely part of what we're looking to do in the UK through developing all these concepts out in UK ports. Obviously, this is a global market, and if we're trying to stimulate change as well, we need to be working with our international partners in doing that. As well, again, from a capital research and development perspective, recent things like the Green Deal call that's been out, and getting lots of different partners working together has been fantastic. But as well, there have been recently in some of the smart port sort of future energy hubs work, there have been some Horizon 2020 projects going on in Europe that have been really keen to engage with the work that's been going on in the UK. For example, the SPEED project being one, which I think Antwerp Management School are leading on, and they're trying to build this bank of technical challenges in ports, and are very keen to know where UK research is going on, as well where UK capability is to help build this, more European marketplace of different technology solutions. So it's certainly, as well through the global team that's Connected Places, that we're always looking for those, where are the global opportunities, because these are all global challenges. They're not, doesn't matter what we're working, whether it's supply chain efficiency, whether it's future fuel transition, whatever it happens to be, they're of global relevance, and we're missing a huge opportunity if we're not approaching it on that basis.
Molly, do you want to add to that?
I think from if I look at Aberdeen's perspective, we've taken learnings in during this project. We've looked to other ports, what they've been doing. Bergen has been a leader in shore power. They've connected cruise ships this year. Esbjerg are doing it. There's lots of ports around the world who are already looking at shore power and other fuels of the future. So we do connect. The BPA are a great methodology for us to reach out, and for organisations to reach in as well. And the port industry is really quite small in truth, and we all come together through various organisations and meetings, and sometimes our sharing and our learning is quite indirect, and it's conversational. But from Aberdeen's perspective, we're happy to talk to anyone who wants to talk about what happened, what were the pros, what were the cons, what were the challenges of the shore power element. So we're open to it, and we're happy to share, because it's in everyone's interests.
And John, are you forming a new department in DIT about selling information?
I'm not sure about that, but we're certainly,
Not sure it's called that.
but we're certainly keen to, anything we can sell from the port side, taking it forward. And we do have an increased ports resource as well, and we're looking at a number of opportunities across the globe where we can actually get there. There's a lot of investment going into ports just now, and I believe there's a lot of capability that we can bring forward, and some of which was discussed today. So we're really keen on pushing that forward.
Super. Well, I'm going to say thank you very much to the team on the panel. I know some people had to slip away a bit earlier. Actually, I think it was their loss, because I think what we've heard this afternoon was of enormous value, and actually drew all the threads together. So on behalf of everybody in the audience and from the audience, thank you very much indeed.